Yeah, hello. Basically, today we have a short talk about Xamarin. Probably you know the topic already. I don't know why we're not translating. Yeah, just a second. Yeah, the topic is about leaving the choice of the platform for the users. Xamarin is basically about allowing .NET developers to develop something for mobile world. Just short about myself, why I can talk about that, right? Um, my name is Artem. I'm software engineer, solution architect, certified Microsoft trainer. Yeah, and yeah, I have my own company also. Yeah, as the girl just mentioned, I work in data art. That's why I'm here. Today, quick agenda is about to talk about the Xamarin. I will explain to you the internals, how it works on several platforms, on Android, on iOS. We will skip the Windows platform because it's natively can run there, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense to talk about it, basically. And how to develop the mobile applications for iOS and Android simultaneously. I mean, code sharing or providing the same UI or sort of the same UI. I will have a quick demo for you how to develop, because some of you can just heard about this but never tried. And actually, Xamarin changed a lot for the last year about e- the tools and so on. So I will show you how to do it with my own phone. Yeah, and we will talk about pros and cons about Xamarin itself. And of course, what to do next with that information. For some of you, if you will after that meeting decide to, oh cool, I will use it. So I will guide you a little bit to where to go. So so first of all, this discussion is about .NET developers, mostly for them, because the Xamarin itself it's for .NET developers. It's for coding on C#. If you're not familiar with C#, I don't know what you'll be doing. Basically, just go and learn C# first. And for the guys who's from .NET world, there is basically two options to develop software for mobile. Is to use sort of frameworks. It's JavaScript, HTML, HTML5 frameworks, like PhoneGap, for instance. PhoneGap, it's not framework itself. It's a framework plus several tools for that, which is helping you to develop. But I consider that as a JS framework. How it works? It's just a launcher, which is launched your application in WebView, and then what you're actually doing is you're coding on using JS, and it shows in a web view. So you are basically developing web application. And there is another choice before the Xamarin. I mean, you can do custom coding for every platform. If you are a .NET developer, it will be tough for you. But you can have conditional compilation. So if you're familiar to how to work with Mono, so you can probably handle that. But it was before Xamarin actually introduced what they can offer for us for .NET developers. So what is Xamarin? We will talk about this in just general information, which is boring from my point of view. Then we will talk about the platform. So how to get CLR on Android. Have a think about this. So we have a C#, which is basically compiled to the assembly, which is run on CLR. And there's the problem. on Android world, we have Dalvik, sorry, and which is run Android application. Where the hell, from where we should take those assembly to run? And we'll talk about the libraries, right? So as a developer, I'm usually very worrying about having, let's say, set of the libraries which I can use from the very beginning. I don't want to code, authentication things. I don't want to code login pages and all this infrastructural things. So for me, it's quite important to understand that they already have it. So I don't want to, invent once again a bicycle from the scratch. And yeah, I will show you the IDE for that. So it's basically have two options. It's Visual Studio integrated things and independent toolset. Yeah, if I'm talking too fast, just tell me. Yeah, if it is okay. So So what is Xamarin basically? I already told you that it's for .NET developers. So if you're feeling that you're very satisfied with your knowledges about, yeah, you can read the code. So if you're feeling satisfied that you're already .NET developer with at least like middle, somewhere in the middle of seniority level, you can go and start coding for a mobile. That's totally true. I can tell you that based on my experience, because I started to code for Xamarin when I was already like an architect. So that means actually I spent half of my time for coding. Yeah. So basically, if you will add to the mobile developer, it will get a hipster. That's a joke I'm trying to tell you. So how it works natively. Let's talk about compilation for different platforms. Yeah, I will tell you in details a little bit later. So don't look at that pictures. It's just for making an attention. So there is two big differences. Once again, there is no Windows platform here. For Windows, it's just natural. Just imagine that for Windows, they already have built-in .NET support, so it works there. There is a two different approach for two platforms. For iOS, it's ahead of time compilation. That means actually your code, which is C#, first compiled to the CLR, and then CLR converted to the code which is run on to the binary ARM code for iOS platform. So it's pre-compiled there. And for Android, it's a little bit different situation. With iOS, I will show you later. For Android, it's a little bit different because we have to, let's say, I prefer how it works for Android because it's like more natural from my point of view. So there is a mono. If you're familiar with the mono implementation of like C# compiler, you probably can now imagine how it works. So there is a like implementation of C# compiler which is called mono, and it's adopted by Xamarin to work on Android devices. It works in parallel with Dalvik. So when you're developing an application on Xamarin and you're deploying it on Android device, you're really actually in background installing the mono. So that's how it works. It is true for I would say for production deployment. If you're debugging, that things is not happening because yeah, they did it in a little bit different way. But you should know about this. This is an important thing to understand. If you have mono and Dalvik works in parallel for your application, they are in sync. There is a mechanism for syncing the calls and so on and so forth. But you need to understand that they work in parallel. Yeah. So it's not just Dalvik working for in case of Java application. Yeah, as I already mentioned, that mono virtual machine can be installed with your application. So what about C#? And what's the cool thing about this for me, personally? So it is used to first of all, mono is also used to compile it to CLR, and then the great news or bad news, I don't know. It depends. Are you working or not? You need to buy Macintosh. Do we have live translation now? Because I prefer to actually that you did it the Hackintosh way. So basically, you will need a platform where your application will be compiled to the binary code, which will be executed on iOS. That's the bad thing. So you will need to consider buying Mac or do it by your own. Yeah. So that means how it works. Yeah. So you will have Windows, or iOS. It doesn't matter. The left picture shows just an example. If you're a .NET developer, you're probably working on Windows. So, but you can replace it here with Mac. Yeah, because I also have a Mac where I'm working at. But let's stick to Windows for now. So there is several like libraries set, and they compile. Then it's by the secure channel. It goes to the Mac to the agent where it will be compiled then. What it means for you if you are working, that's the reason where you can force your employer to buy you a Mac. So, because there's no way, really. So this is how the process works. So when you have a CLR assembler, you have to pass it to the Mac then it can be compiled. It works in this way because, the Mac system is independent. They cannot control it, right? They cannot force Mac to change the libraries and so on. Every new version of iOS adding new features, and they are just using the built-in development tools for compiling it. They're providing mono, and then those things are compiling to, with the built-in tools. This is how it works. Yeah. So how to start develop it? So if you will split your application to several layers, you will get controls, the UI controls. You will also have like sort of the shared UI controls where it's like where it's shared through all platforms. In every project you will get this situation with Xamarin. If we will talk about independent mobile applications, you will have the same but without that layer, right? You don't have just shared libraries. You will be having UI. You will be having sort of the application logic or backend. Call it whatever you like. But with Xamarin, you will be having a shared code which you can share through different projects. And there is many ways to do that. I will explain you a little bit later. So or here, let's do it here because it's quite critical to understand. So every platform with Xamarin, on every platform you can have native controls implemented. I will show you how to do it a little bit later. So you can have native feature support, like, I don't know, I cannot imagine. So for instance, for iOS, you can have readings like some kind of, I don't know, things, or display special, my favorite daytime picker controller, which will fail your iOS. So for Android or Windows, it's the same story, especially for the Windows, because Windows has, that cool UI, cool in quotes, of course, where you have tabbed things, like, I hate it, and that's why I'm talking about this. That's pretty much it. And how to reuse the code? There's a two-way, or there's many ways. But the first, just use components. Once again, we are not here to develop the same thing all the time. There is a lot of components already for Xamarin. I have provided you the link so you can just look at it. There is really a lot. And what is the cool things about this? You can also have a NuGet packages for Xamarin. Basically, those NuGet packages is just packages for Mono. That's it. So if there is an entity framework, there is. I know that for supporting which supports Mono compiler, you can just use it. That's pretty much it. And as you can see, this is a screenshot from my Visual Studio. And most exciting things, it's about Xamarin.Forms. So that's okay when you have, we now know that we can compile our code from C#. What to do with the UI? Basically, if I, as a developer, .NET developer, especially the guy who's doing backend, decided to work for mobile, from where I should start? It works if you're familiar with, for instance, with the it's quite old technology. If you're familiar with Windows Presentation Foundation, you will find it's very similar, because you can also use XAML, for instance. So they're providing you a set. This is the library which is starts. Let's set of the libraries which starts with the Xamarin.Forms. They are providing you the set of the default controllers. I'm calling them default. It's a better word to use the word probably generic, which is generic for all systems. So in all systems has buttons, right? We all know that should be input things, and all this stuff. So that is actually allows you to share, let's say, UI code. So based on my experience, I can tell you that I did probably 95% of the UI work with Xamarin.Forms. It can be done in that way. Yeah. Hi, Jacek. Yeah, so the question was, will repeat it for those who listening us. So the question was, are we really can write the same code for every platform and then yes, yes. So we this the goal actually. So there, yeah. Let me return then to the where is it that picture? No, not that one. For instance, for Android, no. So basically, I don't have a picture, so I will probably like reply you with that slide. Um, Of course, it's native. So the question, once again, the question was, it works with in the same way like Ionic, for instance, the JS framework, or it renders then as a natural controls. The second option. So they are when they're providing you as a developer, for instance, in Forms namespace controller, which is generic, like for instance, content page, which is just a page blank page where you can put your controls. It's actually renders then to the native control. On iOS, it's also like something page. On Android, it's also page. So in every of those platforms, so I'm assuming they just started with investigating what they have in every platform and then just generalizing all the properties. At the end, it renders on the platform with the native controls. Yeah. Yeah, I will explain you later. So the question was about platform-specific controls. I will explain you later. That's the interesting part, I know, but just let me follow my thought. I can easily get lost a bit here. So so there is Xamarin.Forms, which is actually providing you the way to construct your UI using two ways. You can use XAML as a, I don't know, as most convenient for someone. For if you're like XAML, you can use XAML. I don't like it personally because it's for me it's something which is from the HTML world. Yeah. So you can use forms from the XAML. Basically, you can code anything in Xamarin using XAML. Basically, so what is XAML, right? So it can be compiled, right? Something which is it's then reflected to the class structure. So this is the same thing with Xamarin. So you can construct your UI using XAML, or you can do it in a hard way, in a classic way. Let's call it that, using a code. This is a good example. Yeah. Yeah, let me show you the demo. So the quick demo, then we can discuss what it was, right? So there will be more things. So first of all, I will quit from here if you don't mind. Yeah, I'm using my own cell phone. I will connect it here. So you all see my screen. Cool. Hope nothing will pops up. Yeah, there is a cool thing to. Yeah, so let me scroll here. So I will show you that no application. So here, first of all, let me explain what is happening here. If you will create your if you will open Visual Studio 2015, and we will try to create a project through default things like File, New, and go to the project, you will see that there is class platform. If you already saw it, just tell me. I will skip that part. I can skip that part easily. There is a class platform or Android or iPhone, iPad applications which you can create. Basically, this is something related to Xamarin. If you're not familiar with Xamarin, Xamarin before was just independent tool set. It was not integrated. It was just recently integrated to the Windows, sorry, to the Visual Studio. Now it works with the Visual Studio quite transparently, I would say. So here you are selecting type of the project. There is a native one. That means actually you will have to code in a native way. To do that, I will explain a little bit later my favorite approach, because if you will really want to code and use native API from iOS, for instance, or in my case, I'm showing cross-platform, but still, if you would like to use a native API from iOS, just learn iOS. Yeah, just learn Object-C, and that's it. So why you need to do that? It's just my personal view. But there is a way to support native controls, or like say platform-specific features. I will show you a little bit later. So you will select here and just click next, and you will get the same thing that I've done. So what do we have here? First of all, I cannot run it without Mac, right? I mean iOS application, of course. So I will just run the Droid one. But as you can see, it creates just the main activity, which is does this just simple thing. It runs my application. Yeah, here you can see that it runs my application, and my application is defined in the portable class, portable library, and it's here. Yeah, I will skip those interesting things with empty thing, but there is just one row, which is running my page, which is showing just one page, and this one page is the login page. This is the default one. We will start every application with the login page. I will explain a little bit what is happening here. So the login page is, it's a type of the extending type of the content page. It's a simple page with a container. And then I'm just creating a stack layout. It's also from the Xamarin.Forms. If you're familiar with Windows Presentation Foundation, it's the same way. So it allows you to insert any other controls in a stack, or in a horizontal way or in a vertical way, it doesn't matter. So then I'm creating a label, I'm creating and adding it to the stack layout. The same thing for the username, and so on, and so on, and so on. Yeah, so there is no application on. Come on. No application. Cool. Hope it would work. It will work. So I press the F5 button. We will see that it starts compiling. Then one hint from my side. If you would like to develop application for Android, just use the real device. It's real problem. I'm filtering some words. It's real problem to use let's say virtual machines, because now there is a way to run the emulator, but it's really virtual machine based on Hyper-V. And it consumes memory. It is very laggy. Just use the real device. It works just perfectly with the real device. You missed it. Sorry. So there is a test hub. So as you can see, there is a test hub appears here. So if I will run it, it just shows what I've done with the here with the UI. I can do it with my own cell phone here. Boom, boom, boom. Just to show you that's really what I've done here. We can just, I don't know, for instance, change the title or the color. Let's make it a little bit. Yeah, I love Visual Studio. I have to stop it. You will be doing it all the time. And just imagine, in my case, it's spending now how many? 10 seconds to deploy on the real device. For the VM on the same machine, on my machine, it worked like 1 minute. Yeah. Where it is? I can see it on my screen. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same story. So it's just a simple application which runs on the same way on Android, on iOS. I can only show you how it works on Android, because I cannot compile it with iOS. I can show you how it will be if I will try to do that. Where is it? They will show me that please add your Mac here. So just go to the Apple Store and buy a Mac. They don't give me any discount for that, I know. Yeah, it's not working. For iOS, it is, but the problem is with not to run it, but to compile it. You remember, right? Let me just press the button. So the question was about, are there any services for doing it without buying a Mac? Yes, it is. So Xamarin provides you the way to, they call it the build cloud or test cloud. So if you'll go there, you can actually buy a subscription for testing your application on all available devices. That's a cool thing. Actually, you can post it there and test it on all available devices, if you have the money, of course. Yeah. So what did they introduce? Just recently, yesterday it was Xamarin Evolve 2016 or something like that. There was an event about this, and there was they introduced a way to do it online. So you can actually change some XAML code of your application online and see the results just right away. Yeah, that's cool. I also like it. So what is in Xamarin.Forms already built in? I'm using the same pictures that they have on the site, but I will just explain to you. You will see that if you will go to the Xamarin portal and you will see that page. I will explain to you a little bit quickly. There's a content page which I showed you. You would just this is sort of container, right? Consider it just a container where you can put your any other stack panel, any other controls. Master detail page is where you can organize sort of the simple navigation, where you have several pages and having a list of those pages, you can easily organize it in the master detail page. It will be the same, looking the same for iOS, Android. For the Windows, it will be a little bit different. You know, remember, Windows has their own vision of the UI for mobile devices. Navigation page is the page where you have content, and it is usually used, you know, together with master detail page. For instance, if we'll select something on the detail page, it will just pops up. It's sort of, you know, consider it as a new tab in I don't know, in Chrome, for instance. So you can go back. You will see the title. You can go back. Tabbed page is simple. Yeah, you know that. Templated page, it's for those who would like to do in their own way. So you know how you will be having the same layout for every page. You can organize it there. Yeah, and carousel. This is something cooler when you... I used it only once when I was like, should I develop, I don't know, new player, you know? Every time I came up with a new platform, I need to, you know, reinvent Winamp. Once again, with carousel, with, yeah, something like that. If we will go deeper in the structure of Xamarin.Forms, so this is a content which is usually used as a child within the pages. There is a content preset, content view, and a stack layout which I used recently. Absolutely, if you're familiar with Xamarin, you will know that. So this works in the same way. There is something which is not here. It's web view. There is also web view. So there is a big topic where I will skip that. So Xamarin also allows you to build, let's say, hybrid application. By hybrid application, I mean application for mobile devices plus for, you know, web applications. So for instance, if you already have a web application and it's works okay, why are you just not having it somewhere as a container, as I mentioned on the first step, like just, you know, just have a web view with that things displayed there. It's also possible to have it with Xamarin. Xamarin also has a web view, but it's like, it will be like shooting with a cannon by, you know, small rabbits. So platform-specific features. It's answering your question. So there was a question about how to implement something platform-specifically for iOS, Android, and the answer is like my favorite one. My favorite approach is to use render. So to define the render for, don't look at the code. It's just I will explain like with my voice. Yeah. So you are defining yeah. So here, so in every project you can define a class which is called render. For iOS, you can just add it here. Yeah, I don't want to do that, so it will take your time. So you will just add a class which is delivered from the page render like control renderer. It will just override, and you will have to override several methods to have different behavior. For instance, I don't know how to. I don't remember any specific controller, for instance, in iOS. I do remember that I am using that approach for storing something in application. So because Android, iOS has different approach about storing information for application. In iOS they're isolated, in Android they're not. So they have different approach for that. So I mean, like images, I don't know, databases and all this stuff. So you can define your own render for the main page, and there you can actually, using inversion of control, if you're familiar with that term, just create your own class which implements the method interface, and then just call it and just gave it to some kind of dependency injector container. So that's it. So yeah, once again, with the example with the content page, it has if you will create a page render, you can also define the view group, so how it actually renders then in a view. So you can do it that way. So we can stop here and make some demo, but it will take time once again. But just to start, for instance, if you would like to have different view for the page, it's usually for Windows, when I would like to have a cursor, the real one, the fancy one, I would like to have it. In OS it works, and so on and so forth. But with Windows it's a little bit different way. So there, you can override default carousel, for instance. So to little bit summarize, and before talking about how to then start to code and how to get the licenses and so on and so forth, let's talk about pros and cons. So based on my experience using Xamarin, so if you're a mobile developer already, you know how to code for iOS, you know how to do it for iOS, but you would like to do it for instance, for Android. It's also possible, but from my point of view, the way from where you can start is just for prototyping your application. It's really cool way to prototype it, because for many reasons. Because first of all, you have Xamarin.Forms, which is restricting you to use, let's say, several default classic generic approaches, not to invent some fancy one where you will confuse your users. It's quite a cool thing to explain, for instance, for those designers or like product owners. I would like to have sparkles on my page. Come on, it's like there is no way to do that, for instance, or to explain something like that. So for prototyping, it's quite cool. For B2B software, why it's for B2B? Again, from my point of view, it's because of the cons. I will explain the cons a little bit later. It's for the simple application. When I'm saying simple one, I mean in terms of UI. It could be complicated, has many pages, but it's simple in terms of how it was created. It's just simple buttons, the generic controls. So that's I mean when I wrote simple applications. And for the cons, yeah. Yes, it's the first con, not for a gaming software. Yeah, so it's not for a gaming. So the question was, it's not for gaming. The answer is yes, it's not for gaming. It's again, it's my point of view, because now there will be guys who's like, I do a game on the Xamarin right now. So yeah. So if you remember, I told you about the mono. So you have a mono already. So you're actually, with iOS it's okay, right? So the mono is used just to compile your code, and then to CLR, and then CLR compiles to the binary for iOS. With Android, you have mono and Dalvik work simultaneously in a way. They're syncing things and also and all this stuff. Of course, you can using custom renders and custom controls, custom code for each platform. You can implement sort of the game, but you will be really doing it for each platform specifically. Why you need Xamarin? Just do it in a parallel way. Just just do it. Every application should be developed then, in parallel. Without Xamarin, they will now, hate me, for instance, probably. I mean, Xamarin guys. Yeah. So, and one more cons: if your application use platform-specific features for iOS or for Android, I don't know. It's just for that platform. It developed with the, using or utilizing the platform-specific features. I cannot imagine which one, for instance, right now, but for, huh? Yeah, share for Android. Yeah. So sort of like it's just I cannot find any reason why you need to do it with Xamarin again, right? So if it is for a specific one platform, do it for in a way that it should be for that platform. So don't invent a wheel for another. Yeah, and if you are not .NET developer, this is ridiculous, right? So if you're because there is a C#, you will have to learn C# first. Then you have to learn how to do it with Xamarin. So if you're a .NET developer, that's okay. If you're not, yeah, you're in trouble basically. So, but there is a way to do it quickly. If you're HTML and you're familiar with HTML, you can help guys from the team with XAML, for instance. Why not? Yeah, this is something from my experience where the Xamarin can help you and where it should not be used. So with the B2B, it's quite interesting thing. With the B2B software, it's related to the previous one, why it can be used there, because after you prototype it, your software with Xamarin, you have XAML forms. You just link them in a row. They're in B2B world. There is no gaming things. There is no platform specific. They're trying to cover, let's say, all platforms at the same time. This is just a natural driver for B2B. So yeah, probably that's it with pros and cons. What should you do with all this information? I have no idea what you will be doing. But if you would like to try Xamarin, is for now there is only one way to do it for free. Well, it's not really for free. It's you have to download Visual Studio 2015, the last one. But we are aware of one thing. It's on that slide. So Xamarin license. Don't look at this. I will explain you with several words. So basically, this is the default roadmap for you. So if you are familiar with Xamarin, yeah, no, we're not. So if you're not, or if you're a Windows developer, the only way to do that, just go there to have MSDN subscription. So if you have it already, you're fine. You can use it, no worries. When you will try to add the new project, it will ask you, please provide MSDN subscription, and it will be automatically installed. So it's like if you already have Visual Studio installed, it will just add some features there. That's it. So if it is not, you can just look at that picture and you will see that there is a lot of the options. So yeah, in my case, I'm using Mac. Sometimes it just works faster on the Mac. That's really I really like feeling a pain when I'm saying this, but it works faster on Mac. So when I'm using Mac, I'm using independent IDE from Xamarin, and it costs about $25 per month, I think, something like that. But now they're changing the price policy, so it can be irrelevant. But I'm 100% sure with MSDN you will get it. With the rest, I don't know. Don't ask me. They're changing it every month. Come on. Someone asked me like how I can get it. I told him like pay $25 and you're fine. And it turns out it's not 25, it's 100 for all platforms, and then it turns out it's just 10 bucks. Oh, don't ask me. Just try to buy it if you really want. So let's start with the questions. I can go and show you a little bit more demos what you can do with that. But yeah, let's start probably with the questions. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it is actually answering. The question was, what about the performance of the Xamarin applications? Because I'm not, I'm saying don't use it for games. It's because of the performance. You're not mentioning performance gaps or lags when you're having a regular application, because there is no way for you uh, to see the lag between like 10 milliseconds, right? But for gaming, it's quite critical. So if you're asking it for, in general, how's with performance, it's okay. It's normal, it's even fast, it's so on and so forth. But for gaming, it's, I would say, from my experience, it's more important to have good architecture and structure your code, not to use, for instance, all the time to cache your things, not to use slow databases. Really, you can use the same approach with the 3 layers application, database, web services, and UI. Just in your phone, you can do that. But it's better to organize your code correctly. It works, that way. I would say if it's not a game, there is no problems. Yeah, with the performance, right? For iOS, that's no difference at all. You have to be very, very, let's say, talented guy to write it in a way that it will be really slow, because it's compiled then in binary things. With Android, because it's Mona with Dalvik at the same time, but it's really hard to mention. So it's really not noticeable. Oh, come on, you see that how it works? Huh? But my application is quite simple. It just runs. I cannot distinguish it, but it's if you have already application which works within WebView, it's much faster. That's really faster, because it's like there is no caching for the web. There is no, for instance, I've made a control with animation on Xamarin. We had the GIF animation or something like that for a logo, and I did it with Xamarin. It was smooth, because on the web view it was very laggy, especially on the old Android devices. Really, it's on the old Android devices. There is a big significant change about this. Yeah. Any other questions left? Old. Yeah, I can answer. And so the question was, what about the compatibility with the old Android, and all iOSs? Yeah, with iOSs again, it works perfectly. I didn't mention any problems with that for my last 2 years. Yes, it supports old versions. There is emulators for all of them, just perfectly fine. With Android, it's the same thing. So, but you have to install. As you can see, I installed only SDK for KitKat, so I can only test for KitKat. But if I would like to add something more, I just installing Android SDK for that version, and it's just, I don't remember starting from which version there is a SDK for Android. But I can imagine that you can actually debug it on the, using any of them. But I'm suggesting you to use Xamarin Cloud platform for testing, because it's hard for you will be to maintain all the versions of your application on virtual machines. It will be really hard. So I'm usually testing something on about version 4.4. Where's that? No more questions, come on. It's the same way. So if you're a .NET developer, you are structuring your code. The question was, what about the unit tests and testing applications, right? So it's the same way for as a regular application. Just imagine the website the same way. If you're design your system in like with a database layer and I don't know services and so on, you can cover it with unit test. It works in the same way. You also have unit tests there, really. So we can do it like, oh, Gregor, thank you that you wrote me. So you can also have test here. So just add test project. Boom. So you can add specific tests for a platform, but you can have unit tests, default one, for testing your code, for testing your application even. Then so UI. So it works perfectly. So I'm considering that as the same way. So there is no big significant change in testing in terms of unit tests. So just the same. If you're using unit tests, you can also apply TDD here. Present. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. So the question was about how the situation with the storage and reusing or having generic code for the storage work with the storage, right? So just for the guys who didn't heard your question. So the approach is the same. I mean, which I explained like how many 5 minutes ago. So what are you doing? Because for instance, SQLite. SQLite, yeah, I'm using usually SQLite. There is implementation for each platform, and they are platform specific, really. So because of they trying to be, I don't know, they're trying to get all features of the platform to be as much fast as possible for that. So they are platform specific, but at the same time they're implementing the same behavior, so you can easily define the interface. So there is already a package, NuGet package for you, but I will explain how it works. So for each platform, you're adding basically a library, SQLite, and it will be deployed to each platform where you will be deploying your application. What are you doing then? You're creating the instance of the base class. You're getting interface, and then you're just injecting into the collector or just returning it as an interface. And then in the generic code, you're just using those interfaces. That's it. So you're, let's say, wrapping up your platform-specific features in abstract class or interface, and just working with that. If you really need to call specific method for that, you need to think how to organize again specific interface. For instance, what I've done before, it's not related to SQLite, but I had the component which has platform-specific features, but for iOS I have to have one more method, specific method. There was two options for that: to extend existing interface with that method, and then mock up for Android and mock up for Windows, so it will be doing nothing, for instance, or to extend your first interface with sort of the method for returning additional interfaces. So I would it's just the designing features. It will be the same, but yeah, yes, yes. Yeah, so that's probably it. If it isn't yeah, one more question. Yeah, there was a slide. Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention it. It was, it is very critical thing. So you cannot create code dynamically. So forget about this. If you are so efficient in .NET and you know what is system reflection emit, and you want to use it in Xamarin, forget about this. So there's no way. Uh, do I have to explain why? Because of that processes, different processes. In the first way, we have mono. Oh, sorry, there for just-in-time compilation, we have mono. We can actually do it there in theory, right? But because Xamarin tried to build software which is runs on every platform for iOS, it's not possible because they will then have to provide you the building engine here somewhere. It's like, it's too much for a tiny application where you can post your thoughts on Facebook. Come on. Yes, it's just to reflection. Yes, you can scout through your code and so on, but you cannot create dynamic code. That's it. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for the question because I forgot to mention it. Yeah, I even wrote the red title here. Any other questions? You're my favorite one. Yeah, today. Mm-hmm. It could be. It is possible. Yeah. So once again, the question was about what about the Android and native features, like to write some kind of yeah, NDK, GNA, and so on and so forth for Android. It is possible to use it. So the custom, for instance, the custom renderer where you will override all your things, you can write it on C# on Java also. So there will be a special file for that. You just write it there. For the C++, I didn't try it, but as far as I understand, the whole thing with the logic, I mean, I didn't write it for Xamarin, but if you will write your own renderer or your own platform-specific component, we can just reuse it there. So just wrap it up, and it will be working. Let me just test it. Why not? Any other questions before I will? Yes, because once again, Dalvik also there. They have sync mechanism, but Dalvik running and mono running, and in the same at the same time. Yeah. No. So basically, it's if you remember that technology. When I'm saying technology about that, it's like I'm itching all the time. Click once. Remember that? No, you're lucky. So there is a for Windows platforms, for Windows application, there was a click once technology, which is basically there is a sort of installation type of installation. You're just putting the requirements like it dependent on like .NET framework, but if it is not there, it's downloading and installing. But usually they are including sort of the minimum version of Mono in application. You can configure that. So of course, the Mono is installed in the system, not in next to the application. So, and of course for iOS it's not relevant, right? So because there is no Mono for iOS, we're just compiling it. For Android, we're just installing it in one place. Any other questions left? Yeah. compared to native. Yes, there is a difference, but it's not so significant. I can probably measure what is the size of that application, which is quite empty, right? How to share that? I won't be lying. So let me just find it somewhere. So just real world example. How it was Xamarin test, right? Xamarin Android application. So in my case, it took. I'm sorry. Can I? Ah, it disconnected. Super. Come on, get back. So sorry, it's on Russian, but you will see that it takes 33 megabytes for a simple application, and yeah, it's with the mono. You can exclude it. It will be just less than megabyte, but with mono it's 33. Come on, it's just extension for Chrome. Extension for Chrome. It codes extension for Chrome, and it codes. I will be promoting the Visor. Visor, yeah, Visor. You can use it. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, I know. So yeah, the question was about the size of application. I showed that the size is significant. From my point of view, it's also yeah. But if you will have, like let's say, if you will be having complex application, it will be like 40 maximum. So yeah, and it will be more and more space if you will be using high-res resources. Yeah. Just don't buy small phones. Old one. Don't use them. One more reason to change the phone. Any other questions? After that meeting, you can just come up. We can do some fancy stuff on my laptop without translating it on YouTube. I mean, like, we can try to do something cool with Xamarin. Yeah. If that's it, thank you. Employee or employer, and you thinking what to give to your developers so they can start code for mobile, buy them a MacBook, please. So yeah.